today's guest is someone who I'm very close to. And I'm actually going to try and do this more off the cuff because I know you very well, Jack. The reason why, so Jack Parry works in my team, and Jack has been a friend, staff member. I'm not sure how to describe you, right?
Colleague,
all of the above. But someone who I'm like, you're in my inner circle, so super tight. And besides working together and just observing your growth, which I'm so proud of you, the last 12 months have been, the transformation in you has been unbelievable to watch. So, for example, like what I've observed and what I would love you to share with people so that they can learn from you is let's just start. I always start with, fitness and things like that. So your fitness, your health, like you're healthy, you're fit, you look the best you've ever looked, you feel the best you've ever felt. Is that right?
Maybe minus that tan.
Minus the tan. Okay, cool. And outside of that, so if we focus on in a work context, last year was your best year ever.
Yeah. In volume and GCI.
All right. So can we just give the listener, let's just give them a snapshot. So a couple of quick questions. So how long have you been in real estate for?
I started when I was 17. So what is that now? I think it's 13 or 14 years.
Okay. How old are you?
33.
33. Okay. 33. All right. So you're 33. You've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
How long have you been a standalone agent for?
Technically standalone in your team for 2.5 years, and there was sort of like a 5-year period in between before I came back into your team.
Okay. All right. And then just so the listener has some sort of context. So your early 30s, how many sales did you do last year?
38.
38 sales. Okay. And though we won't talk about GCI, but that's like what you did was really impressive.
Thanks.
All right. What I really want to unpack with you is like why last year? So what happened at 32? Like why?
I like what sort of changed? It wasn't so much last year. It's been building for a while. I think the changeover period was when the market was good in 2021, and I had that back then best year ever. But everyone was saying everyone had their best year ever in that year. I think what probably changed is coming into your team and trying to balance lifestyle and priorities and focus compared to what I was doing in 2021. So I had a good year then, but then 2022 was terrible. Not terrible, but just like nowhere near as good as 2021. And you're sort of comparing to yourself. At very least, I think if you're comparing, it's not great, but if you're comparing to anyone, you should just compare to yourself from say last year or the year before. And you want to have gradual improvement, or at least I do. But then coming back into your team and sort of experiencing how to do real estate in a different way and prioritizing, health, fitness, work, but still actually being focused. So it really transitioned from 2023, where I was sort of trying to turn it around, get momentum again because I'd slowed down. And then 2024 was a year that was sort of building on that. And then 2025 was just, let's do better than last year. So 2024 at the end of it was my best year ever. 2025 at the end of it was my best year ever. And I hope at the end of this year it'll be my best year ever as well. I don't know at what point that might tip where I feel as though it's too much because I've observed, your journey where I'm like, there's surely a point where you don't want to have to, be so stressed and work all the time and not be present with your family and not have friends and those things. But for now, it's fun. I've got momentum. I've got consistency. I feel like I'm actually very good in terms of my skill set. I probably have been for a while, thanks to you and some other mentors within our world. But I think it's probably just a balance of commitment, skill set. That's
so what do you think?
I'm trying to encapsulate it all. What changed? It's sort of slowly and gradually built, but really it was just commitment.
What about, because your skill set, I've always said that you're one of the best agents in the country. Your ability to understand the situation, your ability to articulate a situation or, a particular sort of scenario to somebody, your ability to sit in front of someone, a client, and give them really good advice that comes from a really good place. But I guess what I'm curious about is you've had that for a while.
Yeah.
And I've always said you have so much potential, but it's in the last couple of years that I've seen that potential.
Yeah.
Why were you up and down before that?
I can't really put my finger on why I was so up and down. Like, I think, like Ivan's always said that, it's easier to sell 30 or 40 houses than it is to sell 15 or 20 a year, right? Like once you get to that point, you can sort of stay in that space. But what I'd probably bring it back to is I really started to learn over the last, say, 5 years what having a bit of regiment does for me. I actually enjoy it more.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like go to the gym in the morning, always have open houses on a Saturday, always be meeting people, do a couple of appraisals or like there's so much to come from just like this consistent flow. And when you structure certain aspects of your life the same way, it just feels like the other things happen naturally as well. To be specific, like, you go to the gym, you try and eat healthy, you get into work, you do your calls, you do your meetings, you do your open houses, like all of that happens. It's fairly monotonous, but I actually think that I prefer that. That sort of keeps me on track. The other thing is it's real accountability where, I did coaching with Ivan for a couple of years and then I took 6 months off, and those 6 months, my figures dropped. And I don't actually think that my direct coaching with Ivan improves my skill set. What it does do is it reminds me to think about what I'm doing rather than just how I'm doing it. And I think that does keep me on track. I've got a personal trainer to make sure that I arrive to the gym, to make sure that I stick to my program, to make sure, like I don't like doing legs, to make sure that I do legs. So I think I just work well in that environment. But what I definitely can do is think through what I need to do. Sometimes I won't do it if that's all I'm thinking. If I put sort of parameters in place to almost force me to do it, I'd do it and then I feel better.
Okay.
So I've learned that over that period. And I think the other thing that helped was in 2023, I stopped drinking and started focusing on my fitness, started to focus on my health and just experienced what it's like, not just kind of going with the flow and doing whatever with your friends, drinking, etc. And the results came because it sort of transformed, and then the flow-on effect from that work paid off in 2024.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is you like routine, you like accountability, you have a coach, but it feels like
there's one more thing: holidays.
Holidays?
Yeah, the consistency in holidays. So that balance that I talk about, instead of working and then having a holiday and then working across the year, structuring your holidays so that you can get a break, get a rest, stop thinking about real estate for a little while, come back and work harder. So I learnt that as well, which is like, okay, commit to having good breaks. What I also have experienced is when I have a big trip booked, usually it's an expensive trip, it's almost like I hustle harder before that and then I do more before that trip. So if I didn't have the trip, what would have happened? I don't know what that is about, but seemingly every time I've gone to go away on a big holiday, the sales volume just before I go away is higher than it's probably my best points in the year are just before I go away. So clearly there's something in that.
Okay. Well, I think John McGrath used to always say that the most productive week somebody has is the week before they go on holiday. Yeah. So I think that resonates probably for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. Routine, accountability, having a coach, fitness, no alcohol, holidays. These are things that I'm sort of picking up on. For somebody, let's say someone's stuck right now, right? And they're whatever it is, like 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever it is, right? But they're sort of stuck. What's the first piece of the puzzle that they should look at so that they can move the needle and sort of progress forward? And it doesn't have to be a real estate answer.
The easiest answer to that is like whatever habits you're in, for example, what time you wake up. So, and then what your morning routine, like it's just start the day differently. That would be how I would approach it, right? So instead, for example, if you wake up at 7 p.m. and then you get in the shower and then you go to work.
7 a.m.
Sorry, 7 a.m.
Yep.
try getting up at 5:45 and doing something for an hour between 6 and 7 that feels nice. Go for a walk, go to the gym, go for a swim, go and read in your house, whatever. Do that and then start your day and just see what happens. The other thing is like I started to do some habitual things. For example, I mean, you were the one that influenced this, but I would go to icebergs every Saturday morning, go for a swim and have a sauna. And then it would start my Saturday well. So I would just be in the best mood through all my inspections on Saturday. I'd be meeting people and it was almost like my energy was so high and people would gravitate towards that. And there was a period where, I don't know, I felt like I was veering off. It was actually Thomas McGlynn that said this. He was like, mate, what's not happening now that was happening when you were feeling like you were in flow state? It's like, actually, I haven't been to icebergs for like a month on a Saturday. And so, you know, it's just little things that you can try and do to influence how you feel will just set up your day better. That's how I would answer that.
Can I ask you, because I think it's easy for someone who's in their mid-40s to say, like, be healthy, don't go to bed late and all that sort of stuff, right?
It's really hard to change your habits though.
Yeah, I guess what the point I'm making is like I say that. I know people like Matt Steinwade say that, but we're older than like I think Matt's in his 50s, I'm in my 40s, so we are older, right? And we probably have experienced and done some of the things that we're telling, you know, people younger than us not to do.
Yeah.
But is that boring? When I say to you, like, don't go to bed late, don't have a big night, don't drink a lot, all that sort of stuff, do you think that's boring or how do you interpret that?
I mean, I don't now. I'm trying to think back if it was like 5 or 8 years ago, what someone does, like go to bed earlier, get up earlier, go to the gym, eat better, stop drinking, stop going out all the time. Like, yes and no. It's not you must do it and there's no relief from it. It's that why don't you just try and see what happens if you try it for a little while? So give yourself 3 months where you just change a little, if you're stuck, right? That's where this question started.
Correct, yeah.
Give yourself 3 months where you just change a little bit about your lifestyle and see what happens to your energy. And then maybe just write a list of like 3 things you want to do differently if it's a work challenge that you're having. Because most of the time I think when people are off at work, there's something going on at home or within them. So yeah, like for me, it's really just about like, that's why I say regiment is because if you stick to those things that make you feel good, your energy's better, your output is better to clients, to colleagues at the gym, you make better choices with what you eat. Like it's not boring. You ask, is it boring? It's that success leaves clues. I know that that's like a very common thing, but like if all these people that have lived a pretty good life and are also successful are doing it and saying it's good, there's got to be something in it. So instead of saying, I don't want to do it because it sounds boring. Okay, well, what I do now, given that I did have a year off in 2023 of drinking, now I can so consciously decide when I would like to choose to drink alcohol or when I would like to choose to go out and socialize in that format. And it happens like 3 or 4 times a year tops, because I've realized I don't want to give it up completely, but I don't need to do it every weekend or every second weekend. And if I want to have a little bit of fun, you just like pick your moments.
So, you know, like just touch on the no alcohol piece. Do you still have fun even though you don't drink?
Yeah. I had to learn how to have fun without alcohol that year.
Can you tell me more about that?
Well, yeah, like you would go out and like you'd almost be socially anxious because all your friends would be drinking. Then they'd start to get a little bit sloppy and stupid and make sort of stupid comments. And that can be fun if you're in the right environment. But the other thing that I had to learn was if it's not a fun environment, leave. Alcohol is the lubricant for a not great environment. So like if you're not having fun, just go home or go do something else. And I would find myself often staying in those situations. But when I wasn't drinking, there would be really fun times. I was like, actually, this is good. I could go out and I could dance with no alcohol and like that would be great. But then I would also go out and it would be with a different set of people and it would be a different place and I couldn't. And I was like, actually, I'm not having fun. I'm tired. It's late. These people are being stupid. I'm just going to go home. So there's a lot of self-awareness that's come with that realization, but sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not fun. And if it's not fun, you don't have to stay.
Yeah. Can I share this? This is just an observation. I don't, my relationship with alcohol is fine. So I still drink, but I can go 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks without a drink,
Yeah.
right? But then I can also go like a week and have 3 nights, like 3 dinners, and I'll
Yeah.
drink at every dinner, right? So my relationship is healthy. Um, I think it was 2 years ago. I got on a boat. Ivan Brezic did his talk in Double Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And then to celebrate that, because it was around the October long weekend, if I'm not mistaken, he booked a boat for the harbour just to thank some of his closest friends.
Yeah.
So I think I was on the boat. I think a friend of mine, Steve Jed, was on the boat. I can't remember. There was someone else. So I'm sorry, whoever that person was. But I remember we got on with no alcohol. But when we were getting on, the skipper said, "Where's the alcohol?" And we are like, "There's no alcohol."
Yeah.
And he said, "I've been doing this for 24 years. This is the first time that people haven't bought alcohol on board." Now, I'm not really a boat person, and I'm like, that's not my thing. But I've got to say, that was a nice day on the harbour, and it was one of my best days ever, because I have been on other boats and there's always alcohol.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that was at that point, like 2 years ago, one of the best days I'd had all year.
I had the same thing. We got a boat. I can't remember what day it was. It was just like a little group. The sun was out. It was one of the first, if not the only boat party that I've ever been to where either the people weren't drinking much if they were drinking, but like most of the time you would go, it'd be for 4 hours. After about an hour, everyone's wasted. This one was just like have a swim, eat some food, lie in the sun, listen to good music, jump off the roof, like so much fun. I actually suggested to my friend recently that we should do that, but almost enforce no alcohol for our friends just so that they can experience what I did. But then the shark attacks happened and I was a bit worried about going in the harbour.
Yeah,
So we
scary.
didn't do it. Yeah.
Scary. Look, I'll touch on one more point, like just an observation that, again, I don't want to bang on about this because my message is like, don't drink. I'm just saying have a healthy relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
Like I notice if I go out with a group, the conversation when you sit down at a dinner is usually pretty good. The first drink, it's still okay. Second drink, if you're not drinking, you observe this. The second drink, things start to shift. By the third drink, you're not there with the same people you turned up with.
Yeah.
And at that point, I find like the conversation, because if you're conscious, it does change and you're like, oh, hang on, like this isn't for me. Anyway. All right.
It's
So
just like a lot of people aren't even aware of why they're doing it. Right. So like, if there will be various reasons why you might want to do it. It might be a celebration. You might want to get a little bit silly, whatever. But like my thing is I don't want to do that all the time. So I'll just pick my moment. And if it's with really close friends, we don't need it. If it's a big party setting where everyone's going to go out and you haven't sort of gone out for a couple of months, I'm like, yeah, no, this is a good celebration for a very close friend. I'm going to do it.
you had a drinking calendar, correct? Like, so you pre-planned that you might have 3
No, it
drinks
was just I would really set intention across the year. So it'd be like from my birthday on the 5th of January to early last year I went to a music festival in March, and literally from my birthday to the music festival it was 0. And then from the music festival to my overseas holiday in the middle of the year, and I'd drink on holidays. And then,
So you're intentional about it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was like usually like a good 3-month gap, because when I did stop drinking, the best I felt was after 3 months of no alcohol. And I just
that was also
feeling.
like stacking good habits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like a drink can turn into like a burger or an ice cream or something like
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to come back to the morning routine, because I get asked that a lot. Like, how do I change my life? What do I do?
Yeah.
And I had a moment earlier this year where I think it was maybe the 3rd week of Jan, and I got up, I got in the shower and I asked myself the question like, what's my energy like out of 10 at the moment? Because like it's the start of the year, it should be high.
Yeah.
And I was like a 6. And I realized that, probably one of the big points was that I'd sort of given up my morning routine, but it was circumstantial. I just got back from Bali. I was a little bit jet lagged, the time difference. I had the kids for a whole week. And I realized that prior to you sort of like obviously elevating at work and just in life, did you have a morning routine?
I have had a morning routine for a pretty long time. Yeah. I started personal training with the same trainer like 4.5 years ago. So I've always fairly consistently done that. Different, like sometimes it would be 2 a week. Sometimes it would be 3 a week. There was a period where I was doing 4 a week. But that's the main structure to my week, which is gym in the morning at 6 a.m. And when actually part of the reason why I stopped drinking in 2023 was because the year before I actually said to him, I don't feel like I'm seeing the progress from all the effort that we're putting in here or that I'm putting in here. And he said, well, stop drinking every weekend. And it was Ivan stopping drinking. There was a couple of signs. Had some gut issues. I was like, well, that might help. So there was just like all these markers. It was like, why don't I just try it? I tried it and then I was like, wow, actually I'm starting to notice
So that's
real
drinking,
significant change.
Are you
quickly.
talking about a morning routine now, or are you still talking about drinking?
Well, sorry, I'm saying that the morning routine has always been a part of, like the gym component of my morning routine has always been a part of it. But I really only have 3 structured morning routine steps, which is on the mornings where I go to the gym, I get up at either 5:20 or 5:30 because I'm in the gym by 6. Now I get ready at the gym and go to the office. So I'm in the office a bit earlier. I used to go home and we would, my partner and I would walk our dog. And then on days where I don't go to the gym, we would do that anyway. So the dog walk is like a pretty important, like you're getting out. You're like, sometimes I take my shoes off grounding. I don't do that often, but just little things like that. Where if it's not gym, you're still doing something active. We're doing something together. The dog needs to be walked, but also it's a fun little start to the day. Yeah.
Coming back to your fitness then, how did you get so fit? Like you're like so fit.
Well, you know how I was talking about my gut issues?
Yes.
I first thought that it was a gluten intolerance. And so I stopped eating gluten that year. The year you're talking about is when I got 10% body fat on my DEXA scan. That was the start of it. When I stopped eating gluten, I started eating healthier. I wasn't drinking. That was the easiest transformation. Like basically cut out all bad things. And
how did that feel?
it was hard. The gluten thing was hard. But then I figured out that it wasn't gluten intolerance, it was something else, which got fixed. And that, so then I eat a little bit more relaxed now because I don't have to be so strict. Like avoiding gluten was just really annoying. But then I think it was just, because I don't drink much and I work out a fair bit and I sort of want to stay in that space. My actual issue in terms of my own sort of perfectionism and my approach to that is that I just don't eat enough because I do live a very busy life. When you tie in work, the gym, socializing, household, dog, all those things, I struggle to go to the grocery store, cook food, order food, eat enough of it. So there's a limit to it.
How are you going to fix that?
Well, it's pretty conscious now. It's just that, the shortest answer is I need to up my calories. So how have I chosen to do that?
What about, more along, like you're busy now, right? So it's easy to be healthy. Maybe this is a cop out, but like it's easy to be healthy and it's easy to be a good partner when you're not so busy, right?
It's easier.
Easier.
Yeah. Not easy, but it's easier.
We've had the conversation where, how many properties have you sold this year?
5.
Okay. And it's only the middle of Feb.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got a few on at the moment and more coming on. Yeah. Right. So it's going to be a really good year. How many properties do you think you'll sell this year?
My goal's 48 because I sold 38 last year. Ideally in the 10 working months, it's 1 extra a month.
Okay. And then just for the listener, so you have 1 staff member. You've got Tilda. What's Tilda's role?
She's EA, but she also helps me. So she works Monday to Friday in the office with property prep and support. But then on Saturday, she helps me at open houses. Okay. She wants to be an agent. So I figured the 6-day working week would be a good habit to start.
Okay. And then, so when you not left my team, but when we changed the structure last year, I think it was last year. So you did put somebody on. Yeah. Right. And then that didn't work out.
Yeah.
I remember that was probably one of the most difficult decisions you've had to make.
Yeah.
Why was it? So you had to let somebody go. Why was that so difficult?
It's funny being like in a sort of management space where you have to make decisions that will impact people's lives when you care. So it was wrong for me, but I cared. And that was just really hard to do. From speaking to other people that have had to do it, apparently it gets easier, but I don't think that it'll ever get easy. Because like you're basically saying to someone, you're not right for what we need, which like I would just struggle to hear that myself. And I don't know, because I do have sort of people pleaser tendencies, it sort of works in reverse. I don't want them to sort of turn around on me and say, you've done the wrong thing or And I don't think that I did. I just think that there was a realization where it didn't suit what I wanted for my working world, and that needed to be called. You helped me with that. Thank you. I was already thinking it, and then you kind of asked me, and the decision was made when you raised it. I was like, God, okay, I've been thinking that.
Well, I feel like, so from my perspective, it's always sad to let somebody go.
Mm.
But I do think if you're feeling that, then that person's also not getting the best from the role either.
Yeah.
It's no different to a relationship.
Yeah.
There's two sides to this, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can work on it when you have the feeling, but then there's like a tipping point where it's like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah. And I know that particular staff member has gone on and I believe is doing really well, in a different role. So, I still spoken to him a few times, so I'm like very happy for him. But then you think about, you insert Tilda into the picture. So how has that changed things for you?
It's awesome.
Why is that?
Well, it feels like more adequate support for what I need. And I made a decision to change the role ever so slightly, which is almost against the advice from sort of mentors within the industry, which is sort of put a junior agent on and get them to do buyer work and those things that at least within our company and, the people that I listen to, that's sort of the right decision. But I like doing a lot of what I like doing. And then there was things in the background that needed to happen, which I didn't like doing, more so from an admin perspective and some of the planning with like property preparation and updates to clients and things like that. And she's just slotted in and basically filled those gaps. So we just kind of work in unison. And also I just really like working with her during the day. So it's sort of like a nice environment where I'm just kind of enjoying it, but also there's so much kind of momentum and ease with it.
Okay. And so we had a conversation, and I know it like everyone gives different advice and everyone gives good, like there's obviously everyone comes from a good place and everyone's got a view. My view to you was get someone that's going to help you with the admin in life.
Yeah.
So that you, rather than delegating point of sale things that you would do at an open house, you continue to do those. So you get some support, you continue to do that. And then when you get really busy, then you get somebody else on, which is different to delegating and then putting some. So we sort of did it in the reverse order. Has that helped? Has that helped having somebody?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the biggest advantage of having more of an admin or logistic type of support person in your life right now?
I just have so much more capacity to do what is like the most productive. The agent work, like I would get bogged down in like planning a little renovation for a house that was going on the market. I was like, what am I doing here? Like I'm not listing or selling a house right now. I've listed the house. It needs to go on the market, but it's 3 weeks away from going on the market and I'm spending 2 hours at this house. So that's one thing. And then there's so much in the background that happens in the office that just means that I don't have to be sitting at my computer. I sit at my computer like 1 or 2 hours a day now because it's mostly appointments. I walk around on the phone. I like to get the steps up, and B, there must be some anxiety while I pace. But I like that. Like I can't quite sit still. But that's what's so great about our industry is we're not like stuck in an office all day. We get to go around to meet different people, interact with different people. We're on the phone interacting, and I don't know. I've not actively tried to stop that for a long time now. The pacing, I mean. What was the question? Sorry?
About support.
Oh yeah. It's like, maybe it's better that I highlight the fact that I actually had a little bit of a blockage in realizing or coming to terms with the fact that I need it. Like getting to a point where it's like, I am good. I do enough deals. I can afford it. Just put someone on. And the realization of what having support, moderate or high level has done is like, God, I wish I did it sooner.
Do you also feel like you've grown as an individual and as a business owner now that you have a staff member? And like, do you see yourself differently?
No, but I do think that I am more not structured. I'm there more present at work, doing my work, rather than if I didn't have that and I needed to go get my hair cut, but the only appointment was 2:00, I'd go home and just But like now it's like there's stuff to do and there's these things happening and I got to check with Tilda and like I just feel like it keeps me in check as well. And I do have a certain responsibility, but that feels really subtle now. It's just flowing.
Does Tilda, like in terms of what she does, so she manages all the logistics behind the scenes, right? Paperwork, admin, etc.
Yeah.
Prepping houses. Does she manage your inbox?
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of.
It's not 100%, but that's also because I don't have particularly awesome structure in my inbox. There's a lot of shit in there. And like I put myself reminders in there that I look at again, but it'll be like, call this person in 3 months. And like, I just could have better structure with that. So we're trying to get to that point, but we're just not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I want her to, but the sort of day-to-day things that are happening in the inbox all the time, she can't quite do without talking to me all the time. And often I'm not there.
Okay. And then, so you're also looking at putting on a housekeeper now.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I can't remember what podcast it was, but I actually heard Gavin Rubenstein talking about it. He basically shared that, and I'm probably not sort of, saying it verbatim, but he basically shared that his priority is being at work or doing the things that he wants to do, not kind of like making sure his dry cleaning's picked up or dropped off or making sure the laundry's done or all of these things. And if I think of the biggest blockage in my life right now, it's just having my house in order and having clothes that are clean. And like, it's pretty basic. One of the options, I haven't actually engaged them yet, but we've looked into it. One of the options includes dog walking and meal prepping. So I've already shared with you that diet is a little bit of a barrier in terms of getting the right calories in. The dog gets walked, the meals get prepped, the laundry gets done. Like years ago, I decided to get my shirts dry clean, never wash and iron my business shirts. So it was kind of like outsourcing because I was like, I don't want to spend 2 hours on a Sunday ironing my shirts or every morning for 15 minutes ironing my shirts. It's like I'm at a point now where I will outsource that. But you could think about it commercially and saying, I don't think that is a sensible use of my time for 2 hours of a week. It feels the same now. It's just more. So I'm just actively choosing to either be at work and work, be at home and be present and do nice things, not things that I don't like. I don't like doing laundry. Spend time with Tim. Like there's all these things that I would much rather be doing than hanging out laundry, putting away laundry. And I also want to have a clean, organized space because it helps my mind.
Yeah, I think also, like I've always said, you could have somebody like that and share them with another household. Or 2 other households, if you like.
I'm not like advanced in my understanding of it, but seems like more people should do it. I mean, it's not especially expensive. Like, I respect that that's not for everyone and like expenses are different for everyone. But for what I pay the house cleaner compared to what the housekeeping costs look like, I'm like, why don't I do this sooner? But they're not available. That's the problem. Like there must be good ones and they're locked in and you can't get them.
Okay.
That's what I'm currently struggling with that. But one of my plans is to get help at home so that we're not having to do some of those things, given how little spare time we have working 6 days. Sometimes if I go to the gym at 6 a.m., I'm getting to the office at 7:30 and I'll get home 7:30 or 8 o'clock. The idea of cooking dinner to eat well and stay healthy, putting on a load of washing that takes an hour and a half, hanging it out, the next day then having to put it away and do it all over again. Like,
it makes sense when you add it up.
It seems bothersome to me. Yeah.
I think it adds up. I've always thought like you could probably just share someone. So like someone could go like,
that's what they do. The housekeeping services, they just send you on they send them on a rotation.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
like they tidy your house.
Yeah.
Right. Then they can meal prep for everyone at once if they got like-minded clients.
True. Yeah.
Walk the dog. I don't know.
Should we start a company, get some housekeepers?
Yeah, maybe you do that. I'm not sure. What's been your biggest challenge in the last 12 months?
With that consistency that I've had, it's come with just being busier and always having messages, calls. Like there's always more to do. You can never finish everything in the day, which to me feels nice, but I just can't. So it's just balancing the consistency and the constant communication with so many people and also having those other things. Gym, spending nice time at home, being present, committing to what I've promised my clients, but also getting back to people who could be future clients. That's probably been my biggest thing, because it's more intense now than it was when I was selling less and doing less. And I have an expectation on myself that I'd like to deliver, and sometimes I struggle to deliver the way I want to.
Is it easier to do, say, 48, 50 deals a year than what it is to do 20?
Yeah.
And why is that?
I'll give you an example. I sold a house 2 weeks ago at auction, and the underbidder will be perfect for the next house that I have listed. He's the first person to inspect, and he's interested. It's just this like flow and like moving around and matching sort of, buyers with sellers. And if you always have sellers and you always have buyers, just bang, 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 bang. How you do that, how you execute the sale still needs to be careful. So it's not just, I've got a buyer, let's just sell it, because that person might not pay the highest price. But, I did 3 listing presentations last week, and I think there's 5 this week. And so I'm doing them all the time. So when I go into a meeting, I'm like, I know how to do this. If you don't do one for 2 weeks, you're a bit rusty. So it's just, I don't know, it's just like practice makes perfect, I suppose.
How would you describe your like real estate style?
Caring, strategic, very considered. There's an element of perfectionism, maybe a high element of perfectionism, but it's quite personable. And, I've never been one to make 100 calls a day, right? I will talk to someone, and if I sort of connect with them, I want to understand how I might be able to help them and what opportunities they may have for me. It's not selfish in the sense that I'm only doing it for me. I genuinely am curious about what's going on for them and what they're doing, and the random conversations that you end up having about their work, why they bought their house, what they're struggling with in their house, why they want to buy another house, why they're struggling to buy, and then just little offerings of advice for them. I actually think people recognize that, and then there's just this snowball flow-on effect from that over the years, where people now call me who had an experience with me that I don't remember. They do. They call, and then all of a sudden that's resulted in 3, 4, 5, 6 sales with that one person. One example, I met this guy in 2017. I don't remember it. I know what house he looked at because he told me. And then 2 years later, he called me because he'd bought a house in Balmain. It was out of area. I was selling something in Newtown. He inspected in Newtown, bought a house in Balmain. 2 years later, called me saying, I want you to sell it, because out of every agent that I've met on my journey, you were the most impressive. And come and talk to me about selling Balmain. I sold that. Then I sold his next house 2 years later. Then I sold another house for him 18 months later. And then he referred me to what was my biggest sale price last year, or the year before, I can't remember. So one interaction at an open house in Newtown, like I was out of area, it was basically a fee grab. And then all of a sudden he's one of my sort of best clients over the last few years.
When you say he said that you were impressive, what do you think he meant when he said that? What impressed him?
Well, can I answer there's 2 answers. One, I was just simply qualifying. I was trying to understand what he was doing. But I do think that I come at that from a fairly conversational, personal, curious, caring way. So at a basic level, qualify everyone that you meet, especially at an open house. Work out, are they looking to buy? What are they doing there? Are they thinking about selling their house? How can you help them? How can you help them in any way? If they're a neighbor, are you monitoring the street for a reason? Like whatever. But also like doing it with a level of charisma and care that they recognize that you're not just asking questions so that it can go into a database, or so that you can just simply try and sell one of your other listings. Like it's not about that. It's about, okay, what do you need? How can I help you?
When, like this is putting you on the spot, but when you think about qualification, what's giving you the most cut through? Do you have are there some questions that you ask people that you're like, I always ask this question?
I mean,
could be a buyer, it could be a seller, it could be anyone. So yeah, what comes to mind?
I mean, the basic level, and there's all sorts of ways that I would say it, is what are you up to? Like, are you looking to buy, or are you just browsing? Or I wouldn't even say just browsing most of the time. I try to avoid the word just. Are you browsing or buying? That's the first one. It's interesting how people answer that. Sometimes I'll just give you everything. You don't even have to ask another question if you've got time. If it's a big lineup and you've got to try and work out buyer, how active are they? So either how long have they been looking, if they've bid on something and what price range they're looking in. But like, I got this from you, but I don't want to say like, what's your budget or something like that. I've got a few different ways that I would say it, but ideally you would want to know price-wise up to what level don't you want to go above. Like it just seems really disarming to me when you're actually saying, hey, what's your budget? But more often than not, I can sense there's a little bit of tension because they're like maybe wondering why I might be asking. So I'd say just in case we can share other options with you, ideally for the perfect house, what price don't you want to go over, or price-wise up to what level don't you want to go above? And they'll then say, oh, we don't really want to go above 3, or we don't want to go above 4, or for the right thing, we could go to 5, but they might be in a $2.7 million house. It's like, oh, okay. And where are you moving from? Like that, I don't know. It feels really normal to me, but I understand that a lot of people might not be doing this, and this might be valuable.
What if a seller called you today? If I called you and I said, Jack, I want to sell my house, what would you ask me on the phone?
I would say, well, it depends what you say, but ideally I would figure out where you live. So, okay, yeah, I'd love to help. Firstly, can you just tell me a little bit about your situation? So where is the house and what's your timeline? Next, I would probably try and work out why they've called me, or where did they get my details from, or is there any particular reason why they're calling me? My call ideally is like 15, 20 minutes. So it will go for a while, but I'm just trying to understand, okay, well, how am I going to be able to prepare to help you when we eventually sit together? And at the end of this conversation, I'm going to book to sit with you. And that would, someone called me yesterday. Actually, it was recommended by someone that didn't list their house with me. And I just asked her what her timeline was, and she said, I'm not thinking of doing something until spring. I really just want you to come and see the house, tell us what to do to get it ready, and map out a timeline. And I was like, perfect. That was a pretty quick call. I'll ask her most of the questions while I'm in the house. And I know that's not necessarily the done thing, but I think that because I've had a lot more experience with this now, that sort of pre-qualification call doesn't need to be so intense. I used to sit in the boardroom when I would get an opportunity to book an appointment with my notepad with a list of questions, and I would write down everything. I remember this house on White Street. They called me, and I grabbed my notepad, ran into the boardroom. I was on the phone to the lady for like 25 minutes. By the time I actually arrived at the house, it was like we were friends. She's like, let me show you the house. They're talking to 3 agents. That afternoon, they were like, Jack, we're going with you. But I was so nervous because I wanted to understand like which way to go for the meeting and how to be most prepared for the meeting. And that's what that conversation does. But when she said it's not happening till spring, we're just like very, very early stages. I just asked her, okay, well, should we keep it preliminary right now? And should it just be a walkthrough, and we'll sit together and just work out how I can help and when we should catch up again, because we'll need to have another meeting. And she's like, that sounds great.
You know something, and I've said this to Jasmine as well. There's just something about you and Jasmine. I mean, I'm the same, but I'm different because I'm a different generation. There's just something about you and Jasmine that if I interviewed you guys, I would just trust you from the outset because you are trustworthy people. How does that come? Like I hear that all the time. We love Jack. We trust Jack. Why do people love and trust you?
Like it sounds so simple to me, but like very, 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 very rarely will I even have to like fill in gaps that I don't know how to say something. So like how I can articulate a message, which is true, by the way, how I can articulate a message just seems to me so logical, and sometimes I ramble on, but I'm ideally trying to make a pretty concise point. And I think people just get the feeling that it's genuine, which it is.
It is genuine.
And I don't understand what agents are doing that don't give that impression, but I certainly see some tactics and some stories, and you hear things and it's almost like they're not even thinking. And I can't stop thinking. That's part of the problem, I suppose. So if someone says to me, this is my problem, this is what I want to do, I'm like, okay, well, A, I might ask a series of questions, and then B, I'm going to try and help you diagnose all of that and get you out of here. I'm talking about someone calling to sell. You want to sell your house? I have a problem. I want to sell my house. Okay, well, how do we sell your house? When should we do it? How long before you want to do that? Like,
why wouldn't somebody use you?
that, the more I do this, makes less sense to me. And I don't mean to sound arrogant in that, but I often sit in front of clients. I'm like, what could other agents be saying to them that makes more sense around how they're going to get a good outcome than what I'm saying? Not me, what we do. And that's where, like, I don't think that I lose many listings. I don't usually lose listings that I get to sit in front of the client and explain what we do. Where I will lose things is I might walk through and then I don't get to sit in front of them. They make a quick decision or something like that. I'm not saying that I get all of them, but I do find that I have a pretty high success rate when I get to sit in front of them and explain, this is how we'll solve your problem. And I care about making sure that you get the best outcome.
If someone said to you, Jack, let's say someone called you today and they said, Jack, I'm really struggling.
Yeah.
Can you give me 3 points?
Agent?
An agent, yeah, sorry. If you said, give me 3 points or give me 3 points that you think I should focus on that could help me, what would those 3 points be?
I mean, I said before, the morning routine, that's my most obvious one.
So that's not even a real estate answer.
No, it's not real estate stuff.
That's more of an
let's
energy.
talk about a skill set thing, right? Just to
Sure.
give some extra content around skill set. What I would do if it were me right now, I would go to ChatGPT and I would say, I want to run a simulation of qualifying you as a buyer and a seller and just practice. Keep asking questions, record, say, you pretend to be a buyer. I'm going to ask you questions. I want you to take notes of the whole conversation and tell me how I could improve. Potentially, how could I ask a question in a different way? How can it be a more open conversation with someone? How could it be more caring? Like, I'd try and diagnose what I'm saying to someone that's not getting the cut through that I want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So qualifying is probably the biggest one. If I could qualify better earlier in my career, it would have been faster for me to get to this point. And then years ago, I don't even know, I don't remember this. I can't remember the term, but you were like, you have to level up or go. No, the term was you're going to go to the next level. And you were like, why don't you just get into the office an hour earlier every day? And I did for like 6 months. And wow, I actually ended up doing more deals. Like, it worked, but that was like quite intense. But then a couple of years ago, because of your journey that you've been on to get to this point, like, it was about taking what I learned then and applying it to how do we do this, but do it in a smart way where it doesn't mean that I must be in the office at 7 a.m. every day. You know, like, you've got your phone, you've got your computer, wherever we go, we're usually there. So I don't need to be in the office. You have a little bit of that, which is like, well, it was old. I actually think you're over that now. I must be in the office. I must be at my desk. I've got to be working. That's what means that this is all going to happen for me. Thankfully, you moved out of that because it allowed for a little bit more flexibility in what I do.
Do you, actually, no, it's a loaded question. I feel like you get a lot of joy out of life on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, you actually you love your life.
Well, I also love my job because like, selling houses is fun. The negotiation is thrilling, but you meet so many interesting people if you are a curious person. So Jazz is a brilliant example of this. I don't know whether or not she shared this. Actually, I think it happened after. Jazz's nephew was in town and she sold a couple houses for some reasonably impressive people who have reasonably big jobs. And she wanted to be somewhat influential to her 16 or 17-year-old nephew. So she organized to go to their offices and do a tour. One of them was Google. Bringing a 16-year-old. Yeah. Bringing a 16-year-old to Google to show him around and see what different careers could look like. And she was bringing him to open houses and in the office just so that he could get a taste of what different people's lives look like. We get that. We probably take it for granted, but we get access to some very impressive people. And just talking to them about selling their house is not that interesting to me. So I ask questions, ask people about their jobs, their lives, why they're moving, where they moved from, like, and I actually like what they often have to say. Sometimes, you don't connect, so no worries.
You do that with the ability to articulate a clear strategy that clearly works. Like you have a strategy, you get incredible prices.
So there's like a separation between what I'm doing as their agent and then just being curious about them as a side note. I don't spend a lot of time doing it, but it's just like, I'm not simply saying I'm here to sell your house. It's probably a distraction, but that makes my life more fun.
What about your inner circle?
Yeah.
And how important is your inner circle to you?
I mean, really important. It's not that wide if you think about like the most kind of like close and valuable people, but there's sort of like an inner ring of the people that I spend most of my time with. And then immediately outside of that, there's a lot of people. So what I often struggle with in terms of my social calendar is there's so many people that I like and like spending time with and care about that don't get sort of full access, but I actually really enjoy their company. I really enjoy our connection. And so I find myself, to catch up with them and catch up with them and catch up with them. It can fill the calendar for the whole year. And you're like, oh, I've got to work and then see these people. And like, I like them, so I don't want to cancel. And that I do get swept up in that.
I'm curious around like, who are the people that have been most influential to you?
You?
Okay, outside of me.
But no, I mean that.
Who else?
It is absolutely you. It's you. My mum and my dad, but that's normal. I mean, Tim now, because we've been together for nearly 6 years. Ivan, Shannon. Like when you talk about skill set, you sold your apartment with me and Shannon, I'm not exactly sure what the setup was, but Shannon was kind of like tasked with like making sure that I don't mess it up, I think. Okay. Or at least he took that responsibility on himself. And just the deep dive in thought on how to navigate that, I was like, oh my God, just so impressive. And you already had a lot of his sort of skill set advice in how you operate, but then he just made me think. And I really liked that. And then we sold a colleague's property together and he made me think again. So we don't really talk much or spend a lot of time together, but whenever I get to interact with him in a real estate sense, I always learn something. My friend Ollie, but in a different way, he's very successful, but also very fit. And I just liked those two things. So around the same time that we became friends was probably around the same time that I started to do a little bit better and get a little bit fitter. I don't know if that was my choice because you know how they say that like you're more like the people you spend the most time with. I do think that was a part of it. So, and then it's hard because you got to remember your life, but I'm sure there was plenty of influential people. My first boss was the number one agent in where I grew up in Dubbo. And I think the sort of basics of moving to Sydney at 20 and being a real estate agent for the foundation of what to think about and what to do so that I didn't fumble, he built into me from when I was in Dubbo as a 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Attempting to be a sales agent. Like when you ask how long I've been doing this, I'm like, oh, I started as a baby. No wonder it took me so long.
What about, I'm just going to prompt you because Andy, because I know he's been influential.
Yes.
So I want to prompt you, and Jazz probably to an extent, but I just want to prompt those two names.
Oh, there's 50, like there's more. Okay. Like I was thinking about this when you asked me to come on. When interviewing to join Bressig Whitney 10 years ago, there was like a series of interviews, but you and Andy and I caught up. It was in the Darlinghurst office and he had joined from another business and he had done really well. And I'd asked him, why do you think that growth has happened so rapidly in the move? And he gave the most humble answer, which was in his household, there's so much stability, which just means he can focus on work. It wasn't that agency or this agency or whatever. It was like, I can just stay consistent because I have a very stable environment back home. And I was like, awesome. So there's that. And then there's like just being in the office with you and Andy all the time, any little challenge, observing what you do, observing how you navigate challenge, like, like difficult moments, but also just little additional things that make your businesses better and your lives better. I'll pick up on that. So
Yeah, that's nice. Well, thanks for, you didn't have to acknowledge me, but thank you for acknowledging me.
But I genuinely mean that. A friend of mine and I, with him, had dinner recently, and he was saying that we have been really influential on his life. And it made me think, and I was like, and I mean this, that you probably are the most influential person to my life, but that's because you've helped me develop my career so well. And at the same time, being a friend, but then on a personal level, influenced how I sort of make life choices. And I'm not saying that I copy you, but we've been working together for 10 years, but there's part of those things that I do now that feels so natural, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure I got that from you.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple more questions, okay?
Yeah.
I want to ask you about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because have you struggled with that a little bit, or?
I don't think I struggle with it, but I'm sure that it's there.
Yeah.
Sure that it's there.
It's Jazzy that sometimes gets it right.
We both do.
Because you guys have helped each other with that.
Yeah.
Because she might say that she feels it a bit, and you're like, I don't know, I've heard you say to her, like, yeah. So how do you address that in a dialogue? Or how would you address that in a dialogue for somebody listening to this that may be experiencing that?
I think that, like, it's very natural. I asked you if you get it, and you told me that you do, but there needs to be a certain level of self-belief with a certain level of humility attached to it. And I think it's hard, for me at least, not to feel as though I'm sort of this like typical egotistical real estate agent that thinks that he's king shit. Like, I'm trying to stay away from that because I don't like that about our industry. And at the same time, trying to make sure that I recognize that I'm a very good agent that can do very good work. When someone, tasks me with the responsibility of selling their house or asks me to help them buy a house, I will do that very, very well. And I just have to remind myself of that. It doesn't matter whether it's a studio apartment or could be a $10 million house. I have to remind myself of that. The issue is sometimes I don't particularly feel worthy of that. And it's almost like I have to rewire the thought. I'm much better at it now. But when I was younger, there was, Shannon referred to it in one instance as commercial immaturity. So I was a little bit nervous. I didn't feel as though I was worthy. And subsequently, I just completely dropped the ball. And I'm sure that that was what was going on in my head. It wasn't because I couldn't do it. It was because I was scared I was going to be doing it wrong in the eyes of whoever I was trying to interact with. How do you navigate it? I don't know. It's all up here. Like, it's just, I think our industry and life, generally speaking, not to give life advice, is such a game of what's going on in your mind that the more mentally tough you are, the better you'll do. So if you improve your skill set, if you sort of have good routine, if you do good work, the only thing that's going to get in your way is what you're thinking to yourself. And if you can change that to a more positive, and why I think Jasmine's been so helpful is because she just has the most positive attitude. And so sometimes if I'm feeling that way, she'll just say something and I'm like, oh yeah, I am good at this. So sometimes you need it, but I don't know. I think it's a pretty normal thing, unless you're a psychopath.
I haven't shared this, right, because I haven't had a chance, but I did an open house last night for Andy, a $10 million house, which is not something that we stand in front of every day. Like my average sale price is more like 3 million, right? And I had a moment. Yeah, well, yeah, it is. Actually, I should acknowledge that. But I was standing there last night and I had this moment while I'm there. I'm like, I'm about to meet a bunch of people at a house that I technically can't afford right now. Let's just be real. I can't afford it right now. And it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. But then, like, I remember the confidence I had when I bought my house in Bondi and like, it's pretty public. Like, I paid a lot for it, close to $8 million, and it was a knockdown, and I felt worthy. You just brought that up. Like, I was like, well, I'm at that point I could stand in front of any property and feel like, well, I can afford it, so I'm worthy to sell it. I'm not meeting, I didn't want to feel like an imposter with the people that I was meeting. But anyway, I just had that for a second. I was like, hang on, what are you talking about? Like,
it's funny because, like, firstly, you go through sort of like time frames of your mental state. So when you bought Bondi or when you sold your other Bondi house and did really well, there would have been a level of confidence that came from that. And I don't know whether or not that's necessarily a healthy thing, but you definitely had it, right? But then when you had to sell Bondi and you made a loss, and based on your situation, you now think, oh, well, maybe because I'm going to meet these people, but they can afford a more expensive house than me. You've also reminded me that like, this is your world. You're one of the top agents in the country. And these people probably, even though they're able to afford a 10 or whatever $1 million house, they don't do this all the time. So it's not about the property, it's about the process. And we're very good at that. Why does it matter?
Well, you know what's funny? In that moment when I felt like that, I know what technically happened in my head. I base my self-worth on my income or what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any correlation to that and happiness. Now,
Yeah.
I understand that you need to have a certain amount of money so that you don't have the financial like restriction. So I totally acknowledge that. But in that moment in time, I just focused in and I just based everything of who I am and why I'm worthy based on how much money I have at that moment in time.
Yeah.
I could have 10 times that in 10 years from now, but it's about, you know, how I feel. Like, it's not about like how they feel. It's about how do I feel right now?
Yeah.
And I feel so happy.
Yeah.
I feel so, I heard something, I read something and it was really interesting. And it said, if you can't enjoy a cup of coffee, you're not going to enjoy a private jet or something like that. It was an extreme example, right? Which I thought was like, that is really interesting. And I thought about that and I thought, how many people have a coffee in the morning and how many people actually
Enjoy it.
enjoy it?
Yeah.
How many, like, because it is a nice thing if you like coffee.
So you know how you asked me about my morning routine? Before the gym, I have a double espresso and it's like straight down. But on our dog walk, I'll have like a night, like my version of what I enjoy as a coffee and like sip it slowly, enjoy it. We're outside. The weather's usually nice. Like we live in a nice area. So it's like, it's good to just wander around and slow down for a moment. Like that only takes half an hour. But you get an actual cafe coffee rather than the machine at home. And like because this only happens twice a week, my coffee order is a cappuccino instead of a piccolo because it's got the chocolate on top. It's like my version of a treat and I enjoy that. But I also think that we have, at least over the last few years, gotten really good at enjoying small things in life. Like your visit to Birachina, grabbing a coffee and going for a swim. Like it's really beautiful, but it's pretty simple. You're getting a coffee and going for a swim.
You got
But it's
sunlight.
so good. Yeah.
Sunlight, community.
Yeah.
It's like, it's interesting because I had also, I don't know why, but my heritage is Italian, as you know, but for the listener, all these like reels on Italy coming up. And one of them was like, Italian people don't understand what a takeaway coffee cup is.
Yeah.
Because like my recollection, I haven't been to Italy for like 6-7 years now, is that in Italy, you go to a bar, like they call it a coffee bar, and you have your coffee there.
Yeah.
And there was something else like saying like Italians don't know what meal prep is. Like, why would you prep your, like food and cooking is such a beautiful thing.
But
anyway,
I think like it really is just about being present.
I think that's all it is.
Like
Yeah. So
I as you know, it's probably a bad habit of mine, which I'm trying to change, but I spend a lot of time observing social media between Instagram Reels and TikTok. Years ago, there was this TikTok trend, I think, and it was called the art of noticing, which is just these like beautiful little moments. You'd like look up in the street at the trees and there'd be a bird in the tree and you just like look at little details. But I've done that forever. I'll just sort of walk around and like see little things. I'm like, that's really nice. The sun used to set at our old apartment and the sky would light up, and every single time I'd run into our office, which had the best view, I'd be like, look at the sky. Like it just,
that's nice. Yeah.
it's just like little things. Yeah.
Look, I personally found those couple of like subtle hints, like for me, like the coffee and the like, they were really nice for me. And I was like, yeah, there's beauty in every day. And beauty can be having a coffee,
Yeah.
you know, or
Also,
you know,
let me know when you're going on a private jet.
yeah. Well, I was going to say one day, but I don't really care. Okay, my last question is this. So you have been, and I've considered you a reverse mentor for many years.
Yeah.
So like something will happen and geez, I've come to you hundreds of times and like I'll vent to you
Yeah.
and then you'll give me a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
And the concept of a reverse mentor, for those that don't know, is someone who's younger than you that can offer you a different perspective, because your friends typically give you a similar perspective, or someone older than you might be a different perspective, but someone younger is different. I don't know where I heard that term, but I just immediately said, that's Jack. Jack is my reverse mentor.
But do you know, like, at least for me, I think there are probably a lot of people in your life that can't really push back quite hard on you. So, like, because you're a fairly strong personality, few people will tell you that you're doing something stupid, and I'm not afraid to tell you when you're doing something stupid. So I think it's like a different perspective, but also it's like, that's stupid.
That's why it's good to have a mentor.
Yeah.
But someone that you trust.
Yeah.
Because I have total trust and I know that you care for me and you would only ever tell me what's right. Okay, so my last question is this. You're talking to someone who's just turned 44. What life advice would you give a 44-year-old? Again, what maybe 1, 2, or 3 things would you say to a 44-year-old?
Do you know what comes to mind? It's off the cuff, so I haven't thought about this. You know how you said, is it boring when I say that? Whatever version of fun, like proper fun, not just like it's a little moment of fun, whatever version of fun you used to enjoy, do it every now and then. Because like you're still young. Like if you were 80, you would think 44 is young, but probably now you're like, oh, I'm getting old. So don't forget that. That's probably like my perspective is like I look down at people younger than me and I'm like, God, they do so many fun things. Don't forget to do those, because like now we've got busy lives and expenses and all of these things. I just think that'll get worse as you get older, and I don't want to lose that. Make sure that you stay fit, but you're already doing that. So that's not advice for you. It's just like same thing. Go to therapy, but you already do that too. Change therapists if you've gone to the same therapist and nothing's changing. You said 3 things. That's 4.
That's good. Okay. So Jack, I want to say thanks. When I think about my 24-year career, you were like one of my top 3 highlights.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You
so
too.
like, yeah, I'm just
24.
so proud of you. I just love who you are as a person, as a human being. I love what you do. Like I couldn't be prouder.
Thank you.
My life is better because you're in it. Yeah, I don't know what to say to you, but thank you for everything.
Thank you.
If you've learned
I gave you a little bit of a plug in the middle there, but I mean that.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's an honor to have you on, and it's an honor for like to have this conversation go out to, to the general public, to the real estate
Hopefully
audience.
it's interesting. Hopefully we'll get something from it.
All right. Thank you.
No worries.